You want me to do what? It's not even a room. It's a homestead. But I will do this now. I will do it for the skull. Greetings, programs. Your old buddy Hanker and Furnail here, back once again on Drunken and Dragons YouTube, also known as Runehammer. Welcome back. Let's get right to it. You're not here for some kind of flim-flam beatboxing intro. You're here for the seldom requested, often produced room design. That one was a little overdone. Sorry about that. Okay, so today we are going to do a single enemy room design. So that's going to be the first point to know if this is relevant to you in any way. If the next encounter you're going to do has more than one enemy in it, just skip to the next video right now. It's probably going to be like that fox guy that's like brewing tea with the lo-fi beats. And come back to this later when you're going to do an encounter in your game with a single enemy. So first of all, you're going to see this board. We've got this little homestead here. We got some nice Dwarven Forge, irresponsible adult investment on display right now. But basically, these heroes are going to come across, you guessed it, a cabin in the woods. The phrase cabin in the woods is kind of a marker for like bad stuff's going to happen, right? So this is a cabin in the woods in every sense of the word. Okay, so they're going to come up on this, and it's going to be dark and seemingly abandoned. Now, instead of music, during this encounter, you are going to play thunderstorm ambience. Okay, so you're going to use your Spotify or whatever you use with your Bluetooth speaker because you're a cool game master like that. You're going to let go of doing cool, tense music, and you're just going to play thunderstorm ambience. Now, don't play rain, play thunderstorm in specific. Okay, so Ryan, when you're in post-production, cue thunderstorm sound effects. Nice. Okay, there it is. So what you're going to do as the GM is get a little bit attuned to that thunderstorm ambience. And when you hear a big lightning strike or a big crack of thunder, that's going to be part of this encounter. Okay, so just put that in the back of your GM brain for now, and we're going to unleash this. Okay, so they come up on this abandoned cabin. It's dark inside, but they're heroes and they're players, and they have all kinds of like, you know, post-traumatic D&D syndrome. So they know this isn't just an abandoned cabin. They're coming in, they're all tiptoeing a little bit. The first time that any sound is made, one, or two, if someone gets slightly away from the group, we're going to start this encounter. So very often you'll have, like, this would be our wizard. The wizard is interested in these weird mushrooms that I've put on the board. Whereas the tougher characters, you know, they got shields, they got axes. Right there, that's about a move, right? I would consider, well, let's make sure it's about a move. Here we go. Let's just make sure. Is that about a move? Yeah, that's about one move. Okay, so when you get that feeling of separation, go ahead, say roll initiative. They unleash their initiative. Make sure you give your single foe a really beefy initiative buff. If they have it in the book, rock on. If it feels good, if you're rolling hot, whatever. If you want to roll with advantage, if you're playing D&D, for initiative, you kind of want initiative here. So you can't like fix it, don't fudge it, but you want to kind of get it the blue collar way. You know what I'm saying? You want to earn this initiative. So give it a little bit of a buff. What's going to happen? You have one enemy hiding in this cabin. And the minute that they are either alerted by sound happening in the scene or by sort of watching out the window, which is the creepier version, and seeing that one sort of hero has become separated or is straggling, they're going to sneak out of this cabin and begin hunting the players. Okay, now, right away, as the GM, you're going to need a way where you're not just making it up to know where the hidden enemy is. So what I'll do is I'll have my notebook. This is like, has parity, right? So my notebook is the board, right? So this would be the settlement, right? Here's the cabin. And all I'll do is like in that opening moment when he sneaks out, he's there, right? So that would be like right there. Now, you don't need a ton of accuracy in this technique, but at least it's kind of like the number guessing game, right? If I say, guess what number I'm thinking of, and I don't write it down, is this even a game? It's super cheesy. So if I say, guess what number I'm thinking of, you have to write it on a piece of paper, 7, of course, and then I'll just hold it in my hand, and somebody says 7, and I'll be like, oh my God, and show them. So that's a really important part, so that you aren't just making stuff up to get the most out of this encounter. Okay, so what happens? This single enemy sneaks out of the cabin, waits for the perfect moment, and then attacks the straggler. Okay, now, after that moment, you're going to be sort of in the hot zone. The encounter is going to be live, and how this enemy is built and how it runs is going to be paramount to this encounter being exciting. Obviously, right now, you're watching this, you should be thinking, if it's an easy enemy, if it's just like a, one little gnome, right? And he does this, they're gonna zero in on him, find him, and kill him. I mean, it's gonna be nothing. So you're gonna need some fun. Luckily, the new 5.5 Monster Manual has you a little bit covered, at least on the seed work. So you're gonna jump over to page 145. This is the goblin spread in the new Monster Manual. And I don't think it's like earth-shattering in its innovations, but it is really, really nice. They've got 4 variations, and I've found, at least in the games that we've played so far since this book came out, this is a really good spread of goblins here. So you're gonna focus on the goblin boss, and you're going to kind of mod the goblin boss. And how you do that is what's gonna make this work. Okay, so there's 2 versions. First version is the easy version. I don't know, let's put him up here, but he's hidden, right? So he needs to make his hide checks to stay hidden, or I do believe the way that it's written, at least in the book, it's a DC 19 to spot him if he's hidden. But there he is, you've got a goblin sniper. Now, one cool thing about the idea of a goblin sniper, it goes all the way back to the mid-80s. It's actually in module B10, it specifies goblin snipers, and they stay hidden during this big village siege that happens, toward the beginning of the module. And a goblin sniper is an archer who hits hard and hides. Okay, that's kind of it. And those are the tools that you're going to use to make this encounter like creepy and scary. And then remember, this thunderstorm is going in the back. And whenever that crack of lightning happens, you're going to bring the pain. Okay, so what you need to get used to is rolling hide for your guy, not putting him out unless he's revealed, because the chances are for the first 3 to 5 attacks, he's not going to be revealed. They're working on figuring out the encounter. And I'll tell you what, the first thing they do is they go in there and look around. So you pull your little roof off and you're like, there ain't nothing in there at all, except the bodies of dead farmers. Anyway, so they're not going to know where he is, and you're going to get some freebie shots. You're tracking where he is if he's hidden, and you're going to take these shots. Okay, so ba-boom. You're going to live pretty much by whatever feels right, or just playing right off the page, depending. But I can tell you for the goblin boss, if you just need to sort of clean this up just a little bit, do like D8 plus 2 for his like arrow shot. And you're like, D8 plus 2, that's nothing. That's not a big deal. Trust me, it will get spicy quick. Okay, assuming your players maybe at 3rd level have around 28 HP or something like that. So you can 3-shot a hero, right, to get him down. Now, what you want to do is not just attack them, but separate them and pull them. And you want to move when you can't be seen for the sniper version. The way you're going to do this is classic goblin stuff. Free actions to either disengage or hide. And then I'm going to tell you about my skulls. Spend one of your skulls. I got 5 for the encounter out here. Spend a skull to disengage and hide. That is the magic right there. Okay, so the players right away know, well, he can only do that 5 times. I've also maybe going to add another power that uses a skull, but this is a fun little sort of micro budget that the players will figure it out instantly. It's not a secret. This is how I'm running this guy. The option that you can use too is when you hear that thunder crack, then I want to spend a skull to make like a heavy shot. A heavy shot is basically a forced crit or something of that nature, right? So you can just double your damage. Something like that. Don't get too crazy with it, but this is the goblin sniper version. Okay, so the goblin sniper is doing this stuff. He keeps moving around and hiding. He's shooting. They think he's over here. They think he's over there. They finally get him zeroed because he either fails a hide roll or they make the detect roll. They start closing in on him. Then you're like, whoa, this is going badly for me. I'm not really bound by anybody, so I'll just use hide. I disappear again. I make some move. I'm over here now. Okay, but inevitably, let's be honest, they're gonna pin him down like this. What the players will not realize, unless they're real experts of the monster manual, is now he's got you exactly where he wants you. What I want now is for this mage to bring the chromatic orb, to bring the firebolt, the witch bolt, whatever, something heavy, and then I'm going to use this next little ability, which is so overlooked on goblins in this book, redirect attack. So if this little dude is engaged and there's an attack that's gonna hit him, he just goes like that, and instead, oh no, I'm over here. And that hits one of this mage's allies instead. So this is a shocker, but it's only gonna be a shocker the first time it gets used. Whoa, I just hit my friend with chromatic orb for 48. That dropped him. So let's say it happens here. They're making death saves. There's no time to get us stabilized because hit points are dropping. This sniper's doing, there's no ads. There's no cataclysm going to befall this scene. You just have obscured visibility because of rain and thunder. You've got this single sniper. And even if this combat lasts like 3 rounds, let's say, because your players are just that good, you'll still deliver this feeling. There's a really cool feeling. And if you trust your instincts on this, it doesn't have to be like, I'm going to wipe them out with one guy. That's not necessarily the spirit here. The spirit is to make a fun encounter out of this that has like heavy vibes. Okay, so that's what I would like to call easy mode, the goblin sniper. Okay, so we're going to put him back over here. We're going to get our 5 skull budget, and now we're going to do hard mode. So hiding in this cabin with a lot of these same properties, but with way better stats to a factor of 3x, we have, in this case, our evil, froggish samurai. Now, in our game, his name was Katsugare, and he never spoke. He was almost like Raiden from Mortal Kombat. He was like sort of empowered by the thunderstorm. And whenever thunder cracked, he would actually sort of like harrow the group. So when there's a crack of thunder, everyone in the group needs to save. Or they take a little bit of, in the case of D&D, damage. If you're playing Daggerheart, it would be like a loss of hope, right? But some microcurrency is expelled whenever he brings a lightning strike. But what are his abilities? Because he's melee, right? So how is this whole sneaking and disappearing thing? So first of all, hold ground on nimble escape, right? Which is either disengage or hide, or with spending a skull, both at the same time, which is something that a player rogue could absolutely do. So don't feel like you're taking things too far. A combination of disengage and hide, that's totally like player rogue all day. So you're just being one rogue who's extremely good at striking and vanishing. So he still has that same ability. So if he's getting pinned down too quickly, spend that skull, disengage, and hide in the same action. Now you say, dude, he's melee. This isn't going to be as good. Well, first of all, his melee strike, just conventional melee strike, should be absolutely brutal. So it's something like a +8 to hit, and it's 48. You know, something comparable to like what the mage's best attack would be. So if your mage is hitting 48 for a chromatic orb, then Katsugare's primary like downward slash is 48 with a nice beefy attack bonus. Okay, so that's kind of like meat and potatoes boring though, right? The second skull spend on Katsugare, in our game we called it line slash, which really is not the most cinematic name. Now that I think about it, it's kind of like a name from Chrono Trigger or something, right? Like there's a cool like weird pixely effect. And he basically, he builds up a lot like the Heavenly Strike in Ghost of Tsushima. He builds up and then he just goes, when he like slides in a lunge across normally what would be a ranged distance and cuts everything in a straight line. So what would be comparable would be a lightning bolt spell in D&D has this very similar effect. It's a line of damage. And so you can use a laser pointer or a ruler or whatever, but he's going to use his knowledge of how line strike works to do this maneuver. So in this case, he's going to get, say, here-ish, and then lightning cracks, I spend a skull, and he does line strike just like this. Both of these characters, this is not an attack, they save. It's a high save, probably a dex save if you're playing D&D, maybe an evade roll. There's a lot of different versions depending on what system you're playing. But it's not just an attack like you're going to block it. You have to jump out of the way or be slashed. And if you want to make this cool, it's kind of like it's a rocks fall type attack. It needs to drop characters and not calculate damage and be sort of petty about it. You know, it's not like I do 5d12 It sounds so corny. Just drop them to 0 HP if they get hit with line slash. But you can only do it if you have a skull coin and the sound effects strike, lightning, and thunder. Okay, so now the same thing happens. He gets one line slash done. These two drop. They're cool characters, so they have ways to pop up or ways to help each other, or they have remote healing that they can do. Maybe this guy has now popped up again. Now you've got two heroes searching for him. Another thing you might want to add to your board, like I did, I put a little lantern here, so players could light this lantern, and then you would kind of like more brightly illuminate the space. Maybe drop the DC on finding the hidden enemy. Give them some little chances to do that. Maybe they light one of these freaking trees on fire. There's a huge like conflagration. You know, it's like when Erebor burned. Sorry about that. Wow, that really struck home. But if it's like that, the trees were like torches, then that would significantly drop the find DC on our one little foe right here. And he doesn't have a crazy amount of HP. He has maybe, 20, something comparable to the characters. And he has maybe one heal pot in his bag that'll just heal him back to full to make it something simple. But all these little things are adjustments. These aren't just the way to do it. You're going to adjust all these little things when you get ready to run this. Another thing that can make it harder is what I've added right over here, which is a cliff. So this is what, a 20-foot cliff. And having a cliff, if you're hidden and you're up here, that cliff is just enough of a barrier to call for a check to get up to him. And any moment in the game where you're trying to zero him or pin him down or get him stuck or engaged, anytime there's a gate in the form of a roll, be it a find roll, a perception roll, a climb roll, a grappling roll, anything like that is another little chance for players to come up short, and he keeps on slipping away. So don't cheese it by weighing the numbers so heavily that they're unbeatable. Just make sure you stick to these nice little tools that the goblin boss has given you, namely nimble escape. You've got disengage and hide, or combine with a skull, and you've got redirect. Redirect with katsugare works awesome because you're going to get into a sword battle with him. You're going to get into melee with him. And that first character, be it your ranger or whatever, dropping Hail of Thorns, maybe you've got, I don't know, your sort of battle mages over there, your warlock is doing some kind of big life drain craziness. He's going to redirect that. They won't fall for it a second time. But man, that first time, ooh, she's spicy. All right, so now they're going to take this guy out. Let's face it. This is not like a TPK kind of formula here, especially if you have a lot of players in your group. If you have that, then you're already used to modifying numbers, and my heart goes out to you as a GM. But if you have 4 or 5 players, I think you'll find this works really well. Then your final piece is your ending, right? So now that it's over, they've beaten Katsugare or this goblin sniper, and this rain and thunder sound effect is still washing over your table. Oh yeah. There it is. So moody. It's like watching The Ring with the sound off, only the sound is sort of on. Anyway, they're going to go investigate this cabin. And when they investigate it, I was joking about it before, but now take it seriously. Everything's been wrecked inside this cabin. There's a little fire on the floor. And there's nothing really left in this cabin. The food has been eaten and everything. But there are 3 bodies in the corner. And it is a man, a woman, and gods, brace yourself for this narration, a child. Oh my God. So this nasty, nasty individual took it that far. And this is part of what makes the encounter magic, is not just that I'm here to try to wipe you and use up a ton of table time. I'm here to give you context and mood. And if the bodies of these innocent farmers aren't enough, drive it home by having players notice little scratch marks on the door where the little girl has grown up over the last 7 or 8 years, and they have marked how tall she's gotten. Just drive that stake home, because the goal here isn't to say, look how many samurai I can hurl at you. The goal here is to get a mood encounter. And the first mood is going to come from the hiding, slippery nature of the combat, which has this real spiky roller coaster to it. And the second piece is when you're going to do the prestige, as we say, with this emotional kind of damage that you're going to do to the players. And you don't have to like get all out of hand with your cinematic narrating and everything. Just let those details speak for themselves. Be a player with the other players. Feel it to whatever extreme feels right for you. You don't have to be Matthew McConaughey to deliver these kind of details. All right? It's just saying it's there, right? You're just the narrator. And trust me, it will hit. It will turn that dagger in the gut. And then it's over and they can move on. But the mood of this rain and this thunder will stay with them. And they will absolutely remember that time they found Katsugare hiding in a cabin in the woods. So I hope you have fun with this encounter. It was one of the most memorable ones that we've done. It was really a big deal. I even added a few little elements. I had Katsugare could also teleport between like big puddles. So anywhere that a big puddle had formed, we would put a little piece of paper and he can spend a skull to disappear into a puddle and like rise up out of the other puddle with his sword, you know, and be like ready. He also kind of would like go behind a tree and like disappear in the woods. And that was just his hide action. And then he'd like come out from behind another tree and he'd be like tapping his sword, you know. So you can really give this some feel if you just kind of believe in the purpose of this room design, which unlike many that I present to you guys, is not about some big, lasting, complicated mechanical puzzle or challenge. This is much more about like setting this feel. And you're not going to wipe a group, but you are going to harrow them both mechanically and in combat, and you're also going to harrow them spiritually with what has been happening here. And it's going to feed into whatever comes next in your campaign. And you're going to make it cool because you are my lumpy-headed weirdos. Thank you for watching, you guys. I'm still Hanker Inferno, like at the beginning of the video, only now I'm cooler. Yeah. Have fun. See you on the internet. I'm out.